Hello. I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello, Herd, and welcome to another episode of NerdyVerse here at Nerd Herder. I'm your herd leader, John Wayne, and I am excited. It may seem like I'm flying solo on this episode, but fear not, I'm not, because my wife would not leave me unattended entirely. I am, in fact, going to be joined by a childhood favorite of mine when it comes to acting. And I guarantee whether it is Grandpa Max or Megatron for a generation or Lombax's band, you've probably heard of our guest, our very special guest. And so a warm welcome in your own homes because I can't hear you and he can't either. But do however you want to welcome David Kaye to Nerd Herder. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, good, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Glad you could be with us. This was purely happenstance by me putting out a tweet, and I was ecstatic. I was blown away that you actually replied and were in for this. So,
Cool.
So
Yeah.
glad to you in.
Awesome.
Well, I can't do enough justice to you and your career as far as an introduction. So we at Nerd Herder, we cover a wide swath of interests, Star Wars being a primary, but all over the NerdyVerse and everything. So tell us a little bit about you, our listeners and watchers, and what you do for a living, because that's the exciting part.
Yeah, it's just this is the room where it sort of happens here. We're in the studio. So I guess I call me a voice actor, or I'm not sure what to call myself. Sometimes, yeah. I call myself lucky. I found something to do after high school. Maybe
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was mimicking people and mimicking voices, and I think the earliest was second grade, where I was mimicking somebody in front of me. The teacher thought I was mimicking her, and she sent me in the hallway. And I got, I used to see the janitor all the time because I spent a lot of time in the hallway. Mr. Rose, what are you in for this time? I said, the teacher thought I was making fun of her, and I wasn't. Don't worry about it. You'll be back in 5 minutes. So that's where I got my Grandpa Max voice from Mr. Rose when I was in second grade.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Ben, you don't worry about it. That's basically Mr. Rose. What the Sam hell you doing in the hallway again? Ben. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, ode to the second grade. So yeah, I come up with voices. I mean, I do. I've been doing it for years. I used to do some radio. I really thought I wanted to be in radio. I had radio heroes, and I used to listen to radio, and Rick Dees, and I used to listen to some of the stations in Boston and Chicago. I was a big fan of radio, and I always wanted to be on the air, and I got a chance to do that for many years. And it was moved around. I was born in Canada. I immigrated to the United States, became citizens 4 years ago, and 5 years ago. Oh my God, it's been 5 years.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And so I always wanted to be here and be part of it, to be with the best and play with the best and learn from the best. And I always thought my calling was to get down here. So that was sort of early on in my career, even in radio. It's like, how do I become part of that? How do I, it was always a big thing. It came from comic books. I know I wanted to be to be here because I was a big collector of comic books, Marvel in particular, a lot of DC titles. I had some pretty cool, valuable comics that I sold to go to college, which I regret.
Oh wow!
But in the back, you could send away for stuff, and it was always in U.S. funds only, or not only available in the U.S. I was, oh, come on! So I remember finally moving down here many years ago, and I went, wait a minute. I can order something out of this catalog, and I can get it to my house for $10 shipping.
Boom.
So I'm like, I'm in. So Yeah, so the GI Joe comic books, the Iron Man comic books, and the irony is that some of these characters I've had a chance to play, and
Yeah,
so
you've been them.
it's mind blowing to me. Yeah, so I was in the radio business and on the air and did all kinds of shifts. I was part of the morning zoo, they called it, back in the mid 90s, early 90s in Vancouver, and it was a very popular morning radio show. And I was part of a cast of characters, and I was doing character work. And I had signed up for this commercial modeling course because I was bored, because I was on the morning show and I had all day to do something else. So I signed up for this goofy class, and I ended up meeting my very first talent agent. He was brand new, and he was teaching the commercial, like to learn lines part of it, to do commercials. And I kind of dug it. And he says, you should do this. I'll, if you want an agent, I'll represent you. And I said, sure. I didn't know what I was doing. And I went on a few auditions, a few things, and I was kind of digging this. And then an audition for GI Joe came through, and he said, do you do voices? And I said, yes.
As a matter of fact,
I really did. Well, I didn't know what he meant by that, honestly. I goes, yes, I do voices. I don't even know what that means. And he said, well, I have an audition for GI Joe. And I go, GI Joe? You mean like GI Joe, the cartoon, GI, like comic books?
Yeah, that pings you in.
Yeah, I was like, I read for a bunch of characters, and I remember reading for General Hawk, and they all looked up and they said, let's try that again. I remember directing me or whatever, and I went away, and it wasn't until 6 weeks later that I found out that I booked the role, and I was completely green, had no idea what I was doing, and that sort of started my whole love affair with that part of the industry. So I became less interested in being on the air and radio, and I said, okay, I'm done with this nonsense. I want to do that, whatever this is, and I was doing on camera. I was doing a couple of episodes of X-Files and some on camera stuff. I always hated myself on TV. I still do. I'm like, oh, please go get off. And but I really loved being behind this, and because I could create.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter who you could do whatever you want back here. This is fantastic. So I really like that. And I like the people that were involved in it. I started doing some anime. One of the characters, Sashomaru, became a big deal, part of that Inuyasha series. Yeah. And so I just made it my dream in my life this is what I want to do. I started doing radio and television station ID work. I started doing promos and started doing some trailer work, and it's sort of all over the map. And fast forward to here to moved to Los Angeles when I was cast in the Transformers animated series as Optimus Prime. That facilitated, okay, I got to be here, because it was starting to get kind of crazy. I was on airplanes like from Vancouver back and forth, and I was like, this is nuts. So in 2007,
Wow.
I was
well, and I can imagine when it was a very much in studio kind of job, because it's not always in your home studio.
No, I liked being. I mean, for the pandemic, we were all here. We were all in our own, spaces, which worked out fine. But I much prefer going over to Cartoon Network, or God forbid if they ever let me into Nickelodeon. But I always, I loved being in the studio. It's because you're with your friends and your peers, and it's fun to play off each other, and the friendships that have developed, and the table reads, which
a whole different energy.
It's a whole different energy, yeah. So I do miss that, but that's a long-winded sort of where I came from. I'm here. I love what I do. I think the pandemic was rough on me, as most people was, for the first 4 months. I was like, where I'm freaked out, and the good news is I had this, I could bury myself in here, and I'm fine. And the cartoons and the video games and the Ratchet and Clank game that we were still working on at that time, that kept me going, because we had a chance to laugh and to breathe and to connect with your buddies, and so yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned Ratchet and Clank, and so the thing that brought this all together by happenstance happens to be Ratchet and Clank.
Yes, today's the day.
It is. It is the 14th installment, and that is insane to me.
Really?
Yeah,
14?
technically 15 if you count the mobile game. That's insane to me, and I have to imagine it's pretty
that's
jarring for you.
Yeah, it's kind of scary actually. I remember the first game we did. I don't think James Arnold Taylor wasn't Ratchet, as Mikey Kelly was. Mikey Kelly was, and me and Mikey. I didn't even know. Actually, I didn't know Mikey was in it because we didn't see each other a lot.
Really?
And we did. The first game was done in one of the big sound stages in Warner Brothers Studios, just over here, and under the water tower. That studio we're in is right under the water tower. And I kept thinking that day. I went over there. And I got on the lot, and I felt like I'm in. You know,
I've arrived.
I kept thinking somebody's going to come and kick me out because that's what I still feel that way. I still feel people go, "Now you know what? Come on, out you go." I still feel that way, but you park the car. And the tower's right there. You're looking up, and all I can think of was Rob Paulson and Yakko.
I was going to say, you expect the Animaniacs to just jump out at you.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing here? What's going on, mate?
I just said, oh, Jess Harnell. I just think they're all going to be there. Anyway, it's right, the studio right under it. And I remember the first time I'd been directed when people were inside the room with you, which was weird for me. When I did the movie Up, like, Pete Docter, and they were sitting right in front of me. So I'm usually used to some people being behind the glass.
Right.
But that's the first time I'd had experience with in Ratchet and Clank where they were like they were all in the room, and they're like, on the sofa, and you're at the microphone. There's a big, and they're right there watching you, and I was kind of weirded out, but it became very comfortable in a real hurry, and that was the first game, and wow, man, that was probably what, late 90s, because it came out in what, 2002?
Yeah.
So we're probably working on it around the end of the 90s.
Really? That early?
Yeah, because it takes like 2 or 3 years to do a game, right? So probably 2099, 2000, probably in there. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, and so I guess that's the big thing. I mean, with going on, next year's going to be 20 years for the original game.
Yeah.
And we just got a new installment now. So, I mean, this thing is still going, and I want to say going strong. I haven't had the chance to play the new game, but I'm just assuming you and James just.
Yeah, no, me, look, I haven't, I was talking earlier, and we're in the process of moving, and that's one of the most stressful things any human being can do.
Yeah.
And so that's where I am mentally right now. Like, this has all got to go somewhere else.
Right.
But so I was asked about the game. Is, look, until I can sit down, and have the 3D headphones, until I can experience my son moved out 2 weeks ago, with his own apartment, and he took the PS5. So I guess, I guess I don't have. So I want us to be able to sit down with it. I want, and have a cold beer, and it's going to sit there. Okay,
just immerse.
Here we go. And I want to immerse myself and enjoy it. So right now, my experience with the game is scenes.
Right.
I've seen it's stunningly beautiful. I mean, it's beyond Pixar. Like, it's just incredible. They call it a dazzling adventure, and it is a dazzling adventure. And that the PS5 console is just like, oh my God. 4K HDR, I mean, all of it's just unbelievable.
And especially comparing it back, I mean, it's not even really fair 20 years difference to compare to the original game.
No.
Just what they're able to do.
I'm really hoping, and I'm nobody, but I'm just hoping that somebody figures out.
Not me, David.
But somebody figures out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a say.
Yeah, you don't have the.
I don't have.
Otherwise, we have Secret Agent Clank the movie.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly. That's what. But from I'd love to be able to play the first game and all the way on like a single. Somebody's got to figure that out, I guess. I mean, it's probably just technology, right? That's what's stopping. Whatever, I don't know what they do, the magic they do, but whatever, it'd be kind of cool to go from like 1 to here, all on one thing.
Right. Somebody
Yeah.
that actually has the mythical PS5 can tell me, but like they've said it's actually supposed to be backwards compatible.
Oh, really?
If it is, we
Ooh.
might get that Ratchet and Clank marathon. That would be an
Ooh.
experience for sure.
Yeah. I
Although
mean,
that'll
what
be
what they're able to do with the designers and the people on this game. It's interesting because this morning, a few people were on, doing the launch, and a few people involved in the game. Well, a lot of people that were involved in the game. It's an amazing group. Like the Lauren Mee, for example. Lauren Mee is the head writer on this thing. Lauren had made a comment that she got hooked on Ratchet and Clank when she was in second grade. And here she is, like
working on it.
she's the head. Yeah. So, and a lot of the folks who were part of the new team were like 2-4 years old when this thing came out. And it's kind of cool that the Ted Price and Ryan Schneider, and Ted, of course, Ted remembers hearing. He said, "I remember hearing your audition. I remember hearing your read," and we all thought. Well, I thought that you put some processing on it. You put some funny stuff on the voice, and
He didn't realize I was just doing this. I was just,
my head was like back and forth.
1, 2, 3. Hello.
It was because I remember the audition. It was just like a paragraph. It was sort of explained a bit about the character, and they wanted a robot, but they wanted him to have some human capabilities. So they didn't want like too robotic. So I said, well, geez, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I think I have neck problems now because
This is the character. When I talk, it's like this. Ratchet, we must find Captain Quark quickly. Oh dear.
and so my head is like, jolting around, and I keep thinking, why is my neck sore?
Right.
My massage therapist says it's probably Clank.
Probably that. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, because
Clank,
oh my God, it hurt. But he thought there was something on it, and so that's really neat for him to say. But like the character was a fine line, a razor's edge, I call it, between AI and human or robot. So I came up with this voice and sent it off, and
there we are.
And there we go, and here we are. But yeah, man, it's bizarre, surreal when you think about it.
Yeah, it's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you emote so much with the voice acting, considering we never see that.
Yes.
It's
a good thing you don't.
Yeah. Do you find you do that with many other characters you do as well? Because I mean,
I do. I do.
Range.
Now I learned this. For those that want to know about voice acting, little bits and pieces of information is kind of fun to. But Alec Willows from Beast Wars, Transformers series Beast Wars, who played Tarantulas, and Alec was very much. He was a theater actor and a very damn good actor as well. And every time he goes, yeah, and his whole body would like vibrate, and I'm looking at him going, wow, that's creepy, man. But
it came through.
But it's how it works. Yes. So in any character I do, there is a definite physicality that has to come through, because it's not just saying words on a page. It has to. This is a character. Like you and I don't know what we're going to say next, mostly, if at all, and that's how it has to be with Clank and the characters. It has to be. If you said this line 40 times, it has to be sounding like it's just something you've come up with now every time you do it. That's one of those tricks. You just learn from people along the way, and Alec Willows is one of those people. I like the physicality of the character. Scotty McNeil, who did Dinobot, he'd look like the character, and Megatron was regal and had a bit of a lisp in here and oh yes, in the bottom.
Yeah,
yes. Yes, another one. Yeah. So it's a very physical thing. So yeah, sometimes I've gone and done sessions for the TF Prime. I did the Insecticon. My cheeks hurt because I did this. You remember? This is his voice here. So it's a very physical thing. So it's just not sitting at the mic and talking. It's all of it.
Well, it's the same way they say you can, in telework, you can hear the smile, from customer service.
Yes.
That's a small scale, but you definitely feel it in the acting with when you get into it.
Yeah, very much so. It has to involve all that. You have to be able to cry, during a scene. You gotta bring it all. It's that's why I love this area behind this mic here, man. I used to hate looking at myself on camera, but I really love, like I said, the possibilities are endless back here.
Yeah,
That's the fun.
that's awesome. Well, so like I mentioned earlier, we love Star Wars. That's sort of our big thing. And for some folks, they may not know that Ratchet and Clank and Star Wars share a commonality by the name of James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah.
So what's it like working with James? And I have to ask, how often does he do the Obi-Wan voice?
All the time.
I have to imagine so. I follow him on YouTube, and any video he does, you can almost play a drinking game with it.
Yes, it is true. And he's so good at it. I remember we did the press thing for the movie. We were being driven around and feeling like stars, and he was so good. I was always so, God, I don't know what to say. And he's like, boom, boom, with the flint, boom. And they go to me, and I'm like, I got nothing. I had to, like, I'm getting all stressed out because he's doing his thing and he's so good at it. Then don't ask me anything. I'm not here.
Don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me. I'm not here. And I just do my clank, and then I get okay. They're happy, so that's good. And yeah, he's good. He's a gentle soul, man. James is a very gentle soul, very family oriented, very family guy, and low key. He's uber talented. The first time I met him, I think I must have been maybe 3 or 4 games in that we hadn't actually worked or seen each other at a session, because I would come in and maybe to have somebody else come in and he'd be scheduled later. It wasn't until he was there one day and I happened to be scheduled just after him at one of the record sessions way back, and I went, hey, it's us, we're here. And it's funny because we had a good laugh because he's much shorter than I am and is complete opposite in the game. And
right.
I was to say, hey, let's do a selfie. I don't. Selfies might not have been a thing back then, but I said, let me get on your back. He goes, no, you'll break my back. I can't. And that was kind of, and it wasn't until the movie that we actually worked in the same studio because they wanted us to kind of play off each other, and I really enjoyed that, because a lot of time we have either somebody behind the glass, the director will say the line, or they will explain the scene and you will just say your line or do so it was fun to actually be in the studio with James doing a few run of the scenes from the film. That was great.
It's really incredible to learn that, because especially 4 or 5 games in, when the story really starts to get cinematic and almost film worthy in a way, that you were able to do all of that, both of you, without actually being together.
Yeah, that's the trick. That's the thing. People ask, well, how do we voice acting? How do I become? Well, there's a lot of things, but you need to be able to. It's imagination. It's like when you look when you were like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 we all had imaginations, and you can't lose that. That's what you do in your head. You're imagining. A lot of times, if I have a scene, I'll do the scene with my eyes open, and I'll learn the actual lines just by memorizing, and I'll close my eyes because it helps to sort of see things. I think maybe because I was in radio, I think that kind of helped because you're supposed to talk to a person, you're supposed to visualize who you're talking to, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the same idea. It's just one of those tricks as an actor, is to be able to imagine the situation you're in and to talk to someone, and I love being able to, if it's a serious situation, I say, come on, I want to cry in this one. I want to cry because I can do it. I can do it. It just comes with time. And being able to, I don't know, it's just one of those, you keep doing it enough and you end up figuring out how it works.
Becomes
That's
natural.
Yeah, I guess. You know, I mean, honestly, some days I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Um,
I feel like it's good to keep a little bit of that in the job.
yeah, you have to, because yeah. Honestly, look, none of us really know.
Right, exactly. Best to be honest. Now, you mentioned another favorite of mine. Now, I love Clank, but really my first introduction to being a David Kaye fan, just didn't at the time, was actually Beast Wars with Megatron.
Yeah.
And so Megatron came first, but what like going between menacing Predacon leader to robot with a soul Clank, how in the world do you flip that switch? I mean, you mentioned imagination and everything, but that's quite a spectrum.
Yeah, they're totally different, characters. There's I'm trying back into this. There's a character I play called Vandal Savage on Young Justice,
Mhm.
and Miguel Ferrar was the voice, and Miguel was a giant in the industry, and so good. He did trailers and on camera. He did everything, and amazing characters on animation series and cartoons. So poor Miguel passed away a few years ago,
Mhm.
and they brought me in. Somebody said, or my agent, somebody heard me do something and said, "Hey, try David Kaye. Um, it might." My screen just went off there. Sorry.
Right.
And I went in and I had to, find his essence. And Miguel, a lot of his voice is here. It comes from this area. So Vandal Savage is very quiet but powerful. And Miguel Ferrar had this thing, 50,000 years of life, the Justice League. So I was lucky because I was kind of in his realm area,
Mhm.
but it's a very foreboding thing to have someone pass on. You got to come in and kind of fill those shoes. You're like, this is cool, but this is very daunting and very nerve wracking, because you owe that person, you know, um, your best work. You need to do a very good job on this.
Yeah, it's quite a
So
legacy.
yeah, so there are those characters where you need to step into. There are characters that have been done before that you get to inhabit when somebody else has inhabited them. We're very fortunate. It's like we take out a library book, and we get to read the book and have the book for a while, but we got to we put it back. But there are those characters too that have they're brand new. Now, creating Megatron, for example, I know Frank Welker. I know that the Transformers, but universe, the G1. I never watched it. And Peter. I mean, God, these were giant. These are giants and legends. But I never
Yeah.
really watched. I watched a lot of Bugs Bunny, a lot of weird cartoons and stuff. So I didn't grow up with it. I did watch a bit of GI Joe. I remember those cartoons and that. I just never grew up with it. So when I went
Mhm.
in to do the role, I had no preconceived notions of how it might sound. I think I'm glad it didn't, because it would have colored my take on it. So I just went and going,
Yeah,
geez, I don't know.
probably a good thing.
Yeah, I just went and said, well, gee, I don't know. What if Sean Connery and Anthony Hopkins and a lizard, had a baby, and what would that be like? So I gave him a bit of a lisp and a bit of a Shakespearean thing, and this, yes, excellent. Side guns, it was just. I just sort of created this character, and they seemed to dig it. So I made it my own, and I'm fortunate enough to have been able to inhabit this and embody this character for a while, and it was awesome. And Clank was completely new. I had no idea. All it was like I said, a paragraph was sent to me, and I had to sort of come up with something. And sometimes I know what I'm going to do. Sometimes I have no idea until I open my mouth.
And I just started talking. Oh dear, what's going to happen? Ratchet, we must find Captain Core quickly.
So it's sort of, I love when things happen organically. If I try too hard, I'm like, that's a warning. This isn't going to work.
Mhm.
But if it just sort of, sometimes I just like start. Sometimes there's magic there. You just
Yeah.
don't know, right? All I'm using is the tools I've learned and was taught to bring these characters to life. Like I said, it has to be new. It can't be like coming off a page. This is something brand new we're thinking of, and we're just saying it for the first time. That's the trick. I don't know if I answered any of those questions at all, and I don't even know where I am. But
You don't have to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Just listening to you talk is amazing. So.
Oh well, gosh, thanks. But sometimes I go off on tangents. Just reel me back in. You know.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
Well, so like you've been Megatron, and I say for a generation because that really was an interesting period because, like you mentioned, Generation 1, all of that stuff was not long past, but it definitely wasn't relevant anymore. When Beast Wars sort of resurrected Transformers, and then you got to do Armada, Energon, Cybertron, and so forth.
Yeah, all those, yeah.
But then you got to change up gears and play another awesome good robot. And might I add, I double checked this beforehand, but I think you're the only one with the credit that's been able to play both Megatron and Optimus Prime.
Yeah, apparently. That was a weird one because I was in the process of moving down to Los Angeles, and I was on airplanes all the time, and I'd get cast in this. Well, I remember finding out about. I was still in Vancouver at the time, and I remember finding out about from Sue Blue. I said, "Hey," I sent her an email. I think it was email back then. I'm sure there was. I sent her a letter.
Brought out the old typewriter.
Yeah. I brought out the old typewriter. I sent Sue a letter. And 3 weeks later, but she said, "Hey, honey, yeah, of course, we got to get you in." Blah, blah, blah. So I was down, and they had me in for the auditions, and I of course read for Megatron.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, of course, here we go again. All right, bring out, yes, I did my thing, and they're all like, it's pretty cool, And I read for another couple characters, and then was it Matt Youngberg or Sue? I guess they were talking. Derek Wyatt was in the studio. They're all there. And they wanted me to try Optimus Prime. It was over at Cartoon Network because I'm not allowed in Nickelodeon. And they said, why don't you give us a take on Optimus? And they couldn't give me a bit of direction. They said, well, go outside. We'll bring somebody else and go out and sort of, look at it, and we'll bring you back in. I go, all right, Optimus, right? So I went out, and they were kind of basing the character on like kind of a Tom Hanksy, kind of younger, kind of, a bit green. And so, geez, I don't know. I just kind of used my new voice, but I made it a little younger, like this sort of thing in here. And I tried that when I brought me back in, and they were all like, yeah, that's cool. Now, I wasn't expecting it at all, but I remember driving through Chinatown in LA one evening, heading downtown to play this sport I play, which is random as squash. And the only courts were downtown. So I picked it up when I was in Canada. It was a bigger sport back there. And I got a phone call from my agent, and I was turning right on Temple. I was going to go back to buy the Disney concert hall. Hey, DK. So, hey, good news. They want to book you for Transformers. I go, okay, here we go. All right, Megatron's back. Yeah, baby. And they said, so they love you for Optimus. And I'm like, I'm waiting for them to say, and Megatron, and they just said Optimus. And I go, you mean like, so you mean Optimus Prime? I thought she'd made a mistake. They love you for Optimus Prime? You mean like the good guy? She's yeah, and she laughed and hung up the phone. I was like, what the hell just happened? I felt great, but I'm like, how am I going to do that? I don't know how to do a good guy. Who's a good guy? I don't know how to do that. So and we got going. The first few episodes, it was kind of higher up in this area because he was green, and then we settled down into my, transform and roll out, sort of like where I am now, this area. So I kind of relaxed into him. But the first few episodes were kind of uncomfortable because Sue would, behind the glass be voice directing, and she, okay, Megatron. I'd look, oh, yeah, that's Corey Burton. That's not me. It took a while just to get used to that. But what an amazing experience with the people we had met and worked with, Weird Al and these people.
It's still such an amazing show. I'm actually rewatching it now. Again, just something that just randomly happened. I saw it was available, and I'm rewatching it, and it's such a great series, and it's
Yeah.
such a colorful cast too.
Yeah, I sure wished and hoped that they would finish it off, but there was a lot of Hasbro properties. The movie was coming out, the first one,
Mm,
so things kind of overlapped and didn't work.
yeah,
The business end of it that I don't quite understand. But just
probably.
again, great, yeah, great people, great times, a lot of fun characters. Um, yeah, yeah, it was good. It was great, great
That's awesome.
experience.
So now, to circle back to Clank, have you done anything quite as long as you've done Clank?
No, I don't believe I have. No, it'll be 20 years next year, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are we still doing it? I'm still doing Megatron, but that's only at conventions and for interviews like this. I bring good old
It's a
Megatron out and Optimus, but Clank. I think, yeah, it's rare in this business. I'm looking at my toy. No. Well, Sashomaru, been doing
That's
Sashomaru
right.
for a while.
Inuyasha's gotten
Yeah.
a sequel series now.
Yeah,
So
we're doing Yashahime, which is really cool. It's fun to put the robes back on again. I
so
think
you wear the robes in studio as well?
Oh yes, of course, yes. Always. So we're just looking around here now. I got on the Megatron, the Beast Wars. Yeah, I think Seshi basically, and I think no, Clank has been. Yeah, it's been a long time for Clank. Maybe, yeah, no, it's been longer because Clank's been the longest, and it's again in this business is really rare, and so very humbling to that you get to play this character for a long time because it doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. The direction in doing the new game, we got the news that we're going to be doing another game, we're like, oh, thank God, it's still going. Oh, good, thank you. And then the second one, the direction was only like, just make sure that Clank is, because I've aged, we've all aged 20 years since the start of the franchise. So your voice tends to, get a little lower. So
We have to make sure that he's up in here to keep him where he was and always, will be in this area. That was one of the directions that we had to make sure Chris Zimmerman, who I just love, and she was a voice director on this, and she was always cognizant, was listening all the time, and made sure that I just kept, the tone was in the right place. But other than that, it was just, have at her, and it was great.
So other than keeping that tone, it's still just that natural for you?
Yeah. It's like anything. Sometimes you feel yourself, if you're tired or you're slipping out of something, it just takes, somebody will say something, or I'll just self-direct and realize, okay, let me do that again. Yeah, it was a lot of work. This game there was a lot of dialogue, a lot of work, many sessions. Sometimes they book you for 4 hours and you're hour and a half, we're done, or now, I guess we're done. But a lot of these sessions were wall to wall, 4-hour blocks, 2 to 6, and then you'd wrap at 6. It's a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And
Well, the games are definitely, like I mentioned before, the story is getting more forward. Not that the original games weren't, but yeah, it definitely seems like who Clank and Ratchet are as characters is much more in the forefront. And now this game, and maybe you can help me out, seems more interesting because Ratchet and Clank are separated for this one, or at least for a portion of the story.
Yeah, one of the great things I've always loved about this franchise and the writing and the people doing it is it was so deep. Even I remember the first game was just so, you could go all kinds of places and explore, and it seemed to be very deep. And this one is very deep with characters. It's like, it's like when Disney bought Marvel or whatever, or vice versa. How does that happen? Well, the well of characters is bottomless.
Yeah.
I mean, each character is so great. Introducing Rivet, and it's just, there's so many. I was looking at the weapons. Of course, are a big thing. I'm just looking at some of the things here. The weapons are awesome. And
I miss those old gaming ads, because I remember that, and that's what got me to play. I actually started with the third game, but that's what got me to play, was seeing that ad that said nothing about the game. It just featured weapons.
That's right.
That's told me. I don't know what it says about me, but
Yeah, it was the
Cool.
coolest thing. You would have loved it, man. When I went over to Insomniac many years ago for the first time, I walked in and there's like actual like weapon, like they're life-size weapons of the, and I go, oh my god, is that real? Because well, it's not real, but it like they built them. They were actually giant, on your bazooka thing and all the stuff. They were like they existed.
I
It's
would have
really
so much
awesome.
fun with that.
Yeah, it was
That-
great. I'm just trying to look here, some of the information, but no, I was going to say that the characters and the story, and it's so deep. You could almost do an offshoot on any one of these characters, because the one thing I love about them is they're very highly developed, and they all have a backstory. They all have a particular attitude. Like even Clank is an AI, has a backstory, and one of the most the coolest scenes was about, the clock and his father and where he came from. It's like, well, that's awesome. And the whole lore of the story, these characters run deep, and that's an ode to the folks who, the writers and the creators of this stuff, to build
Yeah.
that universe, right? Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. Well, I know I'm excited for it. I have been seeing nothing but Ratchet and Clank on my Twitter feed. People with their games triumphantly and everything, and I hope to join the few one day. But I do have to say this was an excellent trade-off. Getting to sit down and chat with you about Ratchet and Clank and more.
Wow, thanks.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Very cool. Yeah,
Now,
I look at those ads and I go, "Damn you! How did you get a PS5?"
Right. That's my thing. Is it's just like, how do you even get one at this point?
Yeah, my son has
You gotta
somehow
get-
got one. I don't know. And I don't have it. So
And now he's making Dad go to GameStop. So
yeah, I'm not. That's my money. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, before we close, here at Nerd Herder, we're actually a duo. So it is me and my wife that normally do this. She wasn't able to be with us, obviously. But she had only one request, and I thought it'd be a great way to close the episode for us and everyone. She just wants to hear. We have a thing we say around here called "Stay Scruffy" because we love Chewbacca. And so she wanted to know if we could close the episode with Clank wishing our listeners and watchers to stay scruffy.
Sure. Hello, all you nerd herders. It's Clank from Ratchet and Clank. We all know who the important one is here. I just want you all to stay scruffy. Clank out.
Is that all right?
That's incredible. I think I died and came back, but yeah, that was amazing. So as we close, David, where can our listeners, watchers, all of those wonderful people find and support you and your work, and where can they see you next?
Oh gosh, well, I'm on Twitter, at DK. Is it on there? Is it at DKVO? I think it is, and mostly I'm active on Twitter. There's a David K Facebook page, and there's some stuff posted there. But yeah, and there's a lot of stuff at davidk.com. Pieces and animation bits and all the stuff that I do is at davidk.com. So yeah, just follow us on Twitter would be great. And there's actually a couple of conventions I'm looking forward to, but I'm actually freaked out because I haven't been on an air. I used to fly all the time, and I haven't been on an airplane for 14 months, and I'm sure I'll be a little bit of a mess getting on my first flight.
Going to be a learning curve getting back into it.
Ooh, yeah. So look for some details coming out of a couple of appearances this year, I guess. Okay. I'm vaccinated all up, but I'm still I'm a nervous Nelly when it comes to all this stuff. Anyway, so hopefully to see you in person. Oh my God, it's and there is some wonderful projects, and I don't really talk about them. All I can say is I'm not allowed to talk about them, but there'll be, if you follow, there's some pretty cool stuff coming down the pipe that we're all really looking forward to sharing with everybody. But in the meantime, please, if you're one of the lucky ones to get a PS5, who are you? Number two, if you do, play the game and let us know. The reviews apparently are like off the chain, which is
incredible since it's just dropped.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it does look fantastic. So I'm interested to know what you think. And we had a blast doing this, and to all the people involved. I mean, there's many, not just the VAs or voice actors, but the folks that made this game are very, very talented at AAA all the way. So let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's wonderful. So yeah, you heard it here. Twitter. That's your best place to connect with David, and
yes, please.
Excited, so thankful, and
you can get the new yes buttons are out.
Yes.
Yes. There they are with the Melissa Emmerich. Melissa Emmerich is I met at a convention years ago. She's an artist and a fan, and she designed that for me. And that's the old Beast Wars. That's kind of the logo with a yes on it, but it's got
a pleasant surprise. Where is my rubber ducky?
Yeah, that's my favorite one. So I've got a few. They just came in, brand new toys that came from up in the state of Washington. So we had them made here and a local company. So yeah,
that's awesome.
get them on the store on the website if you want. But they're kind of fun and goofy. So
there you go. Well,
yeah, that's it, man. Yeah.
So listeners, watchers, love you, thank you, and go check out David. Support him. If you've got a PS5, call me and we will play Ratchet and Clank together. But otherwise, stay scruffy, guys, and have a great one.
All right, cheers. Peace out.
Wait a minute. This is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.